Midterm elections are high on the horizon. Indications are, according to a New York Times and Siena College poll, that 49% of likely voters are going to vote for a Republican, with 45% intending to vote for a Democrat. And this is a 5-point swing towards Republicans from September. So, Lee, the big question in everyone's mind is, what can we expect if Republicans take the House and the Senate?
Congressional investigation after investigation after investigation, with the very real likelihood that Republicans will also move to impeach Joe Biden.
That would certainly be very big news. I'm Brendon Fallon.
And I'm Lee Smith.
And we're over the target. Lee, there's so much that has happened. There's so much that for people to be disappointed in and for people to be questioning and to want to get to the truth about since Joe Biden took the presidency, and even going further back than that if you think about Russiagate. So when you talk about investigation after investigation, what do you see actually happening? What is going to be focused on?
Yeah, I think there are three main silos, Brendon, and they're all related to different issues that people will be voting on next month. The first will be investigations of the Department of Homeland Security and Alejandro Mayorkas, responsible for the immigration, for our open borders on our southern border. That's one silo. The second silo will be of the Department of Justice and the FBI, and this relates to how school parents are concerned about what their kids are being taught and how the Department of Justice has interfered with school parents' control over their children's education. The third silo relates to the son of the vice president, Hunter Biden. My understanding from all sorts of sources on Capitol Hill is there's going to be an open book on Hunter Biden, and that's going to happen in the House, and if Republicans retake the Senate, it's going to be going on in the Senate as well.
And I think this is something we really want to get into a little bit later. People want to hear about this. Before that, the burning question is, how did the Democrats get to this point? One aspect of this is the economic situation, and we know, as a rule of thumb, this always factors in heavily to elections. If you look at inflation, it's currently at a 40-year high. It's at its highest since the Carter presidency. Lee, didn't Democrats realize that this was going to be a pressing issue for voters?
Yeah, the Democratic Party used to understand such things, which is why we have the famous quote from the Clinton White House, or actually the Bill Clinton campaign. It's the economy, stupid. But that's not today's Democratic Party, where they thought different issues like January 6th and threats to your democracy, as well as abortion, were going to be the leading issues heading into midterms. As the Democrats have found out, those are not the issues that most move voters.
You mentioned saving democracy there, Lee, and this is one issue that's had a very one-sided coverage in terms of particularly the Jan 6 committee proceedings.
Yeah, no, the Democrats are so obsessed with targeting Donald Trump, they're not paying attention to the rest of the country. Look, the Democrats already tested this. They knew what the numbers were because they saw on the TV ratings that no one was watching the January 6 committee. So the idea that they think that this is going to galvanize voters and move independents was ridiculous. They knew, or they should have known it wasn't, but they weren't paying attention.
And abortion, this has been a long-running part of the platform of the Democratic Party, so it's not surprising they would give quite a lot of their focus to this. And again, like January 6th, we're seeing a lot of this coverage in the media. We're seeing plenty of people out there with placards protesting the recent Supreme Court decision, but maybe not as influential as they would have imagined.
No, after the Dobbs decision, they expected that this was going to move a lot of independent voters, especially women, over to the Democrats. But I mean, it's nonsense. Again, if you look at the numbers consistently in the United States, it's very moderate regarding abortion. The Democrats have been pushing things like partial birth abortion, which is certainly not where most Americans are. So who did the Dobbs decision galvanize? It galvanized their base. It sent a lot of single left-wing women out to the streets. And unfortunately, that doesn't win elections. But this is another mistake the Democrats made.
So the obvious question that comes to mind here, if people aren't that concerned about January 6th, if abortion isn't such an influential issue for voters, what do they care about?
People are worried about the economy. People are worried about inflation. People are also worried about immigration. They're worried about high crime rates as well. And the Biden administration nor have Democratic candidates address these issues. In fact, they've pushed these issues to the side, and they're still not talking about them. And there's a reason that they're not talking about them.
The economic problems are pretty hard to miss because people are seeing these every day. If they go to fill up their car, they see the gas prices rising just from the last time they went to fill up their car. They're seeing it when they go to buy groceries. So these problems are very much in people's faces. They're in voters' faces.
Yeah, I mean, look, inflation, there's been a lot of money that's been printed. That's the fundamental reason why we're facing inflation. But the problem is people going, especially to the gas pump, you would see it either every day or every couple days, and it's virtually an advertisement for inflation, saying how high the cost of living is going from day to day. And that is shocking to voters.
Obviously, the Democratic Party is aware of this. They know how much the economy is going to impact their outcome in the election. So why haven't they taken some kind of drastic action to move this issue with gas prices, with grocery prices, the inflation issue, in the opposite direction?
Well, I mean, we see that they understand what the fundamental issue is. And that's why, of course, Joe Biden is so mad at Saudi Arabia when the Saudis said no, they were going to cut oil production as planned, and they weren't going to postpone it until after the elections, as Biden had requested. And we see Biden again and again releasing petroleum from the strategic reserve in an effort, and a failed effort, to reduce the price of energy. So they understand what people are looking at, and they're trying to address it. But as you say, Brendon, the question is, why won't they address this in a more holistic manner?
Clearly, releasing 10 million barrels of oil isn't going to be enough to meet the nation's needs. And yeah, why not take this? Surely there's more direct action that could be taken to address this issue.
Yeah, I mean, you remember what happened. I mean, this is an instance of a promise made and a promise kept. Joe Biden on the campaign trail said he was going to target the fossil fuel industry, and that's what happened.
I know that the widespread agenda to switch to electric vehicles is very much behind the de-escalation of oil production. But you would think when the situation reaches such a point of crisis where we're so desperately in need of this fossil fuel resources, that they would start to up the production, that they'd start to address this need.
Yeah, absolutely, especially when you see how much the Democratic Party is in trouble because of energy prices. You would think they would take the rational move and they would do what is well within their power to start granting leases again, to start exploring for more energy here in the United States. But that's not happening. And why? It's because Biden donors have extraordinary amounts of money invested in climate change infrastructure. So you see a conflict here between Democratic Party donors and voters. It appears that the Biden administration is siding with the donors, and voters are turning on the Biden administration because of that. Effectively, what we're watching in the 2022 midterms is a referendum on Biden donors. Americans appear to be voting against Democratic Party donors.
This is quite shockingly. It sounds like political suicide, that the Democratic Party would rather sacrifice its political prospects, its chance of getting reelected, than disappoint its donors. It doesn't make rational sense. Are there other examples? Is it just in terms of climate, in terms of the green infrastructure industry, or is this something that's more widespread? If you're enjoying watching Over the Target on YouTube, you can find the full version on Epoch TV.
Watch us exclusively on Epoch TV, where you'll find not only Over the Target, but all your favorite Epoch TV shows, including Vital Signs with Brendon Fallon.
Come get healthy with me on Vital Signs. Check it out.